In the previous century, the philosopher Hilary Putnam took this Cartesian thought experiment and gave it this new form, inspired by emerging sci-fi horror stories like Frankenstein, and presented us with a new but still old scenario. This new yet old thought experiment was called Brain in a Vat. And what it's all about, you may ask. Imagine you are a brain. Forget your body, you're just brain. Some evil, mad scientist removed your brain from your body, right? Well, normally, in this type of scenario, you would be dead. You won't be experiencing any phenomenal, qualitative experiences of your mind. Once your brain is dead, your mind is gone. But here's something else is happening. This evil, mad scientist removes your brain and places your brain in a vat filled with liquid that is sustaining your brain in a living form. Your brain is not rotting, it stays alive, submerged in this liquid. And your brain is being connected to a supercomputer. Supercomputer is sending signals to your brain through the cables that simulate electrical impulses that your brain normally receives and when it functions. All brain activity, it's there, right? And what that gives you is an illusion of everything that is happening. Well, in that scenario, of course, you don't have a body, and the external reality you're experiencing, it's all not real. Everything you are is a brain in a vat that thinks he has a body, that he has arms, legs, all of this and that, and as well as the couch I'm sitting on, this apartment I'm in, the reality outside my window. It's all not real. It's just a perceived illusion. And such electrical impulses that are artificially generated would be able to give me this sort of phenomenal experience. From there on, this thought experiment was starting getting more and more inspired by technology. Or what I would actually say is that technology opened the door for the new version of this thought experiment. Of course, someone living 20 centuries ago wouldn't be asking whether life is a simulation. Is my brain connected to a computer that is deceiving my senses? Of course not, because such concepts didn't exist at the point. But as technology is developing, we are developing those new thoughts. And as such, we started thinking, is life a simulation? And films like The Matrix only made such theories more popular. Or perhaps a different version of that same thought experiment is not necessarily whether life is a simulation, but also, is life a video game? What if we are all NPCs, non-playable characters, in a video game of sorts? So the question is, how can such thought experiments be solved? How can you disprove those claims? And in the case of a dream, it is much easier. Let's take a look at the butterfly dream, for example. Well, I think that if Zhang Zhou was in fact a butterfly, he would have an identity and phenomenal qualia experience of being a butterfly extended in time. Our sense of self, who we are, doesn't last only throughout the duration of a dream, but rather is extended from the moment we become conscious to the moment we die or for some reason lose that consciousness. If Zhang Zhou was in fact a butterfly, he would have this extended existence of being a butterfly. But I think it's safe to assume that if that was the case, then probably he would spend more time being a butterfly than being Zhang Zhou. But we know that is not true. We know that he spent more of his time being convinced that he is Zhang Zhou than being convinced that he is a butterfly. Or, as I would put it, having the qualia of Zhang Zhou than having qualia of a butterfly. Besides, let's entertain the theory that Zhang Zhou is not Zhang Zhou, but rather that Zhang Zhou is a butterfly. If that was the case, then wouldn't the butterfly, if the butterfly would be able to ask such a question, be asking himself, am I a Zhang Zhou dreaming of being a butterfly? And if so, wouldn't the butterfly have some sort of phenomenal experience of dreaming as being Zhang Zhou? And considering the intellectual differences between a butterfly and a human, wouldn't this butterfly's intellect risen up during the duration of that dream and then fallen significantly? There is little reason to think that such a phenomenon would be possible for a butterfly, but perhaps in a dream such a phenomenon is possible for a human. Still, there is little reason to believe that Zhang Zhou knows what it's like to be a butterfly, no more than I know what it's like to be a spider, just because I dreamt a couple of times of being a spider. All phenomenal experience you can really know and understand is that of your own. Another point is that there are testimonies of Zhang Zhou dreaming of being a butterfly, but there's very little to no testimonies of a butterfly dreaming of being Zhang Zhou. And completely besides point, but the epistemic value of testimonies is actually quite low. For instance, if you saw something happening, you can be more certain of that than if someone were to tell you, hey yo, have you seen that shit go down? Seeing the evidence for yourself has a higher epistemic value than hearing about it. Which means that, for all we know, everything we've been reading for our entire lives might be false, unless we have conducted some experiments ourselves to prove those things. But for some reason we are making the decision to trust those sources, even though they are, in fact, testimonies, just like the news, right? We trust the news. The news wouldn't lie to us, no, would they? Anyway, if me being me, living this life, was just a dream, then it probably would be very temporary. And yes, life is temporary as well. We are all going to die, but the long term of real life experience compared to a short term dream experience can't really be compared, especially when I have this extended identity in time that is developing throughout the years. In the case of Descartes, he argued that, well, if someone is experiencing those sensations, the thoughts, the dreams and ideas and feelings, then someone must be experiencing it. Meaning, well, he must exist. That's at least one thing he could be sure of, that if someone is experiencing it, that someone must exist. Therefore, the famous quote by Descartes, cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. Which leads to Cartesian duality and, God creating above the mind and the body as separate substances. There's the matter and there's the phenomenal, the soul, the physical and the phenomenal, the duality between the two. And Descartes argued that, that material reality must be real as well, since it was created by the God, and the God wouldn't deceive him. And I don't really want to go in depth on that in this video. If you want to, you can read the first Meditations on Philosophy by Descartes. I will definitely recommend reading that if you're interested. I will instead move on to what is relevant to this video. What the whole brain in a vat experiment, or it's like a simulation, it's like a video game, what those four experiments bring to this debate is that, it doesn't really matter what you are experiencing phenomenally, or what sort of knowledge you have acquired through episteme or scientific means. None of that really matters if life is a simulation, that all this information is fueled up by a supercomputer that is giving you those electric impulses. Then all of that is, well, not real. Therefore you can't really know anything. If there is even the slightest possibility that life might be a simulation, then there is at least small reason to question the validity of our reality. And, you know, is it a bit stretched that it's just, you know, supercomputer feeding us wrong intel? Sure, yeah, it is far-fetched. Is it very likely that that is the case? Doubtful. But if there's even a slight chance that that might be the case, I think it is worth examining as a valid hypothesis. Oops. I think it is a valid argument coming from the availability of possibility. The way Putnam put it, the statement, "I am a brain in the vat," is either false or it is meaningless. The statement is false if you didn't actually happen to be a brain in a vat. If the reality you're experiencing, you're living in, is in fact real, then, well, the statement is false. You're not a brain in the vat. But still, the statement, "I am the brain in the vat," is absolutely meaningless if that happened to be the case. Why? Because if that is the case, you can't possibly know it, at least not with certainty. You don't really experiencing yourself as a brain in a vat, therefore going around saying, "I am a brain in a vat," is a meaningless statement, because that is not how you understand your own being. That is not who you think you know you are. Even if what you actually are is a brain in a vat, you can't possibly possess the knowledge of yourself as a brain in a vat. You don't understand that reality outside of your own simulation. The way Neo wouldn't think of himself as the human being attached to that machine. Instead, he thinks of himself as the man living inside that reality, which happens to be a simulation. At this point, you might be asking yourself, well, why should it matter whether life is a simulation or not? Well, it still feels real to me. I'm still experiencing it, and that's the only reality I know. You know, I'm just living my life, doing my thing, engaging in interesting and mundane activities, and you might even grow to care about this world, even if it happened to be simulated, or if it happened to be a dream. You might end up caring about people in this world, you know. Is the love for your family, your friends, or your partner any less real just because it is inside a simulation? For you, as a, you know, normal person, what should it matter, really, right? It's relevant. I mean, nothing really stands in the way of you living your life just as you did before you even started thinking about life being a simulation. And from a purely practical reason, it doesn't really change anything, right? And you know what? I agree with you. But let's take a look at it from an epistemological perspective. The very common and popular position in epistemology is that in order to know something, that something must be either real or true. If it didn't happen to be true or real, then it is impossible knowing. Knowledge is not possible without the truth. In that sense, you might be asking yourself whether it is possible to know something in your dream. Now, imagine a scenario in which your partner is cheating on you, but in your dream. Your dream that your partner is cheating on you, and it may feel real to you.
Good morning, babe.
You're a pig.
What?
You know what you did.
No, I don't.
You cheated on me.
No, I didn't.
In my dream.
What do you want me to do? Go into your dream and beat myself up?
Yes.
But the reality of your partner cheating on you is contained only to that dream. It is not some true statement that your partner cheated on you because it happened in your dream. In that case, it would be foolish to go around saying, I know that my partner is cheating on you. I experienced it in my dream. I saw it with my own eyes. The truth is your partner is not cheating on you, so you know, go easy on him, give him a massage or something. They probably did not deserve to get shit for that. It can be said that a simulation possesses certain similar or same properties as a dream, in the sense that what is happening in a dream is not true. In the same way, you could say that what is happening in a simulation is not true either. Therefore, we could ask ourselves if life we're living in and of itself is a simulation, and that would mean that everything we learn while being in a simulation is a simulation as well. In that case, the knowledge is a simulation. It is a simulated knowledge, therefore not true knowledge. So the point I really want to go with in this video is how can we acquire knowledge? How can we be certain of our knowledge if life can in fact be a simulation? And what I think is much harder to disprove is that life is a simulation. It will be like proving that God doesn't exist. I like the easy way out. Okay, that probably doesn't inspire much confidence in me, but you know, I really think we shouldn't complicate our lives. And if the option A is much harder to disprove, then I'd rather focus on option B, and that is whether it is possible to acquire knowledge in an unreal reality, whether that unreal reality is a dream or a simulation. Let me present you with a thought experiment of mine. You're giving a birth to a child. If you're not a woman, just imagine you are one, and your child is being taken away from you, and for the entirety of 20 years, your child is being locked in a blank room where the only thing they have access to is a screen, a video game console, and those 3 video games I mentioned earlier. The simulated reality of those video games will be the only thing your child will have access to. Everything they will learn about the world will come exclusively from those video games. That will be the only actual thing they will experience outside of the reality of this blank room they found themselves in. After 20 years, your child is being released from the blank room, and you are finally able to meet them for the first time. Now, the question is, in what way will your child be able to relate to the external world and the people in it? How will he relate to you as a person? And assuming that running people over and shooting them with AK and GTA 4 hasn't turned him into a homicidal maniac, and that 20 years of social isolation hasn't affected his ability to empathize with other people, in what way will he find other people relatable? Will he perceive other people as actual persons with their own thoughts, with their own feelings and memories, all the internal processes that the observant himself possesses? Or will he see them as yet another NPC? And while providing a solid answer to that would be impossible without actually conducting the experiment, I would assume that the latter is actually very possible. Still, what I think is more important than that is whether that kid, now a man, will have any knowledge of the external reality at all by playing those video games? Or will he be a tabula rasa in John Locke's terms, a blank slate? Now that he is released from the blank room, he's free to go outside and see the world for himself. Will all of it be absolutely new to him? Well, I'm thinking that there are certain elements of the world, of the reality, that will be familiar to him from playing those video games. He'll notice the sky above his head, and, well, he's seen a simulation of that sky in all of those free games. He will more or less have an understanding that the sky should be up there. He may perhaps not know the reality of what clouds and the atmosphere actually is, but he will know that the sky is supposed to be up there, not down here. The world is not upside down. He might recognize the urban environment of GTA 4 that now is being translated into the actual external reality, and he notices those elements that, you know what, it feels like a déjà vu. I have seen this before, right? He even might recognize some cultural and social norms. He might notice that, hey, the car's driving around and stopping at the red light, just like in GTA 4. Although what he wouldn't learn from the game is the cultural, social phenomenon of why cars are stopping at a red light. I don't think he would possess a proper understanding of why exactly cars are stopping at a red light. You know, to allow pedestrians to pass, to have one side of the traffic moving at a time, to not cause absolute chaos. I don't think there's a valid reason to believe that he would possess such a knowledge without actual interactions with society. Instead, he will possess a purely mechanical knowledge of cars stopping at the red light. There is the what, but there is no why. Red light equals stop. In that sense, his mind would resemble that of a machine, of an AI that possesses the mechanical, logical understanding of the provided information while missing the human context.